大家好，我是全球福音咖啡联盟的直播主 Linda。我现在要录播两段视频，一段是爱子归来的嗯影片，一个是属 Linda 讲座的座谈，给我一点时间。主创的感言。第一个视频是主创的感言，然后接着我会放在2023年11月19号的映后座谈，都相当精彩，欢迎关注。
Chinese inmates in American prisons. We tend to make them invisible. We have, millions of people in the United States who are incarcerated. And so the more we shed light on that, the more we understand about the experience of people, not just the people who are incarcerated, but prisoners, but their families. It's a story that nobody's heard about, but that it is so important. I think the movie will have a huge, audience.
我就觉得这个片子是一个很让人家感动的电影啊，狱友的那个的心里面的话，然后是那么让人家感动，然后他们对那种想要出去的或者想念家人的那种心情，超乎我们的想象。他们那个巨大到非常平和了，然后杨妈妈可以这样子长时间跟他们书信往来，很难得啊，真的。然后他的那些鼓励的话，都不是说千篇一律一直重复的。
父母一直到小孩都应该来看这个片子，对，都应该来看这个片子，也许对他们都会有一种启示吧，我觉得挺启示，就跟那个风铃，叮铃叮啷，叮铃叮啷，它就是一种天启，或是一种希望，是一种希望，对啊，或是一种你会有一种心灵相通，或是一个什么东西，就是一个情感上，或是什么，它有一种神秘的心灵的情感的一种信号。
When we first arrived.
我们的想象，他们那个巨大到非常平和，然后杨妈妈可以这样子长时间跟他们书信往来，很难得啊，真的。然后他的那些鼓励的话，都不是说千篇一律一直重复的。
父母一直到小孩都应该来看，都应该来看，也许对他们都会有一种启示嘛。就跟那个什么，就跟那个风铃叮铃锵叮铃锵，它就是一种天启，或是一种希望，是一种希望，对啊，或是一种你会有一种心灵相通，或是一个什么东西，就是一个情感上的，或是什么，它有一种神秘的心灵的情感的一种信号。
Director Jing Hui, Jasmine Jing Hui Lee, come here, and Kate vocals, our musician, composer, and the panel, and myself. I invite myself here as a helper. And it will be moderated by our guest curator for this Real Taiwan event, Jan Yu Hui Zheng. She also studied in cinema studies back in early 90s. So please sit down.
Okay, so should start?
Yes, that's great.
I shouldn't say enjoy. Were you moved by this documentary?
Yes.
It is, huh? Right. So we just watched the two very important. One is the sound engineer. I can say that, right? Sound artist. Yeah. And another one is the editor. Director of the editing. Both of them are very well known, and both of them are really saying very touching words too about this documentary. And I think I want to ask questions to three of you. First of all, how did you get involved knowing this subject? How did you know these people, and how did you become in a team?
Okay. 2013, my last documentary, Money and Honey, was invited in the film festival in New York, and it's very hot and popular like today. At that time, Mama Yang hosts a radio program, so she interviewed me. That's the beginning of the story. Yeah. Then about the wonderful crew, yeah, I appreciate executive producer, Professor Zhang Zhen, because we know each other because Money and Honey, she loved Money and Honey so much. So I have the opportunity to meet Professor Zhang Zhen in New York. Then we start to discuss about the story. Then I invite Zhang Zhen to be my executive producer. Then she introduced Kat. So it's just like a link. Yeah, and the wonderful crew. Each of no matter the crew in New York or in Taiwan, they devote so much to help me in the production process.
I noticed there are actually 3 producers, right, for this project. So how do you spread your missions, or how are you working together?
Yeah, I don't introduce the other executive producer, Pastor Mu Daoxiao. Yeah.
You should come on our panel too.
and Sharon, yeah, they just left because pastor is very busy. People need pastors often, and it costs so much to make a film in New York. I think it's cheaper expenses compared with Taiwan, and the church, Harvest Church in New York, they offer the living place for me and the office for my crew. So if I don't have the support, it's impossible to complete the film. The church and Pastor Shaw, they care about my living and my working condition. They support me, then donate money for me, and they offer everything I need. And Professor Zhang Zhen, she is the godmother. She's the mentor about the subject. So we discuss about the main line. And Ellen, I know Ellen in recent years. Then I discussed with Zhang Zhen. Then Zhang Zhen said, "Oh, Ellen, it would be very important character in the documentary." And the other one is Liao, Mr. Liao. And she's very, he support me especially in the post-production. I have 3 hours.
Liao Qing-song, you mean?
Yeah, Liao Qing-song.
By the way, I want to just introduce a little bit of Liao Qing-song. He is a very established editor and always worked together with Hou Xiaoxian for many, many years. But he's really loving to work with younger, talents. So even students, so it's like that's the secret of keeping himself very young, in mind at least. So it's very special that he steps in to be one of the producers. But Jasmine said it's like during the post-production process.
But because I have many versions of editing. And editing is so important for a documentary. And I have 3 hours of version. So we the final version. My executive producer, he's also the supervising editor. So we spend much time and discuss with each other to complete the final version. And Mr. Shaw, whenever he's editing, he remember her mom. He said, "Oh, the character, Mama Yang, is very similar like my mother. They have strong willing." And even the dress is so similar. Don't I think Mr. Liao fall in love with Mama Yang? Then I could. So it's very beautiful moment when you could feel the passion from your crew. It's not only a project. You devote your emotion, and we also discussing about the main thing, and because the film is very complicated. It's related family, migration, and contemporary American.
So Professor Zhang, what is your role in this project?
Jasmine already sort of explained. I'm very honored that she calls me godmother of the. In a way, I would say, it's like a baby too, for 10 years in the making. So I got involved very early on in pre-production when Jasmine came to me with a book. The book mentioned in the film, Zheng Haiguang's autobiography. And I read it overnight, and I was so moved and impressed that an incarcerated inmate wrote such a moving story, a book, good writing and genuine emotions about the treacherous path that they traveled through southern China and Southeast Asia, just sort of the whole migratory routes that we read about newspapers, but really do not know the actual on-the-ground experiences. So that book was very much, in some ways, the second seed of the film. The first was Young Mama's encounter with you, and then Young Mama's caring for these inmates. Then we know the other side of the wall. We never see, the inmates being filmed because they're not allowed to film them, right? We hear their voices and so on. But the book really presented a full-fledged human being with dignity, with love, with yearning and hope. So I felt, this is a very important project with great potential, but took many other turns and events to arrive to this. We never expected the pandemic to happen, for instance. And that point, Ellen's story was still not there. Jasmine hadn't met her yet. It was during the pandemic lockdown when Jasmine had to stay with them. It developed this new line. But we when we learned about Ellen's existence and story, I was thrilled. I just thought, okay, this film is not just about two elder Chinese women, one from Taiwan, one from China, who sacrifice themselves and devote to these inmates. But also there's a larger story about Asian American experiences, cross-generational. And the Young Mama is a Christian, a woman of faith, and but we understand, through the film, she does it not simply out of charity. There's really a lot of devotion there. So her interactions with Ellen really added a very complex layer to the character and to the broader story we want to tell. So I just felt really lucky to be writing along the way. We also argued, and I saw countless versions of the edits, and I lost track of their numbers and so on. I'm so happy to be here today to share this more or less finished product. But now I think we should ask Kate to say how she got into this, and the music is incredible, right? And the story also has a lot to do with music.
Okay. So I got involved in the project through a mutual friend who's a filmmaker, and she recommended me as a composer for this. And obviously I thought the story was so important and completely heartbreaking, which I'm here with my husband, and that's what he said after the film. I mean, there are so many layers to this, but he said it's so heartbreaking, and I hope something comes of it. So I think it leaves you with this feeling of that there needs to be a change, the feeling of motion and forward energy. And that is something I wanted with the score, because while the topics are so devastating, I didn't want the music to be too heavy. Otherwise, how can we move through that? So I chose sounds that are lighter, textures that move slowly, and leave space so that the story just has room to basically tell itself, and isn't too defined, by the music. So that was kind of my goal in working with it.
And I just have to add, the three of us had a lot of Zoom workshops on the soundtrack. And Jasmine is so rigorous and sometimes demanding about the precise sort of tone and timing and instrumentation. I learned a great deal about music and documentary music. Thank you for the experience.
Well, this documentary is very special. That one part that you couldn't get into jails to do any shooting. So how did you first of all that the very precious recorded calls, how did you grab over those, and how do you do you feel it's difficult to tell the story without those kind of things, and how did you get into the decision now that we see?
I think it would be very unique film because I could get the permission in the maximum security prison. Because most of the film you could see the face of the inmates, but if you don't see their faces, you will listen their voices. That's the reason Mr. Du, when he was dealing the sound design, he was totally moved by these inmates because we are so busy. We are rushed for our life. We don't have time to listen to others, So I think it's very precious for me because they could share their inner emotion. Maybe they could not tell their families because these inmates they are afraid to their family worry about them. So maybe they only could share their emotion to Mama Yang and me. Especially in pandemic, the condition is very serious, and so we had the collect calls. They could call me, but they must wait for a long time because there are hundreds of people. They are waiting in line. So at the time, it's very precious time. Then because I could not go anywhere, I just stay and wait for the phone call from my friends in the inmates. So you will see the I think, and it's very unique. Yeah.
But they agreed to let you use the course.
Of course, I will tell them
so
in
in a way
first.
that the jail seems like maybe I don't know, like encouraging like such kind of story being told, or what's the situation? I'm very curious about this.
I'm not sure about the opinion about the manager, the officials in the prisons, but I have the right to record their voice because they want to voice out.
Right.
And I think they told me I'm the only one they could voice out their voice for so many years.
Let me just also add. Actually, Jing Hui also visited the inmates. You are able to visit them in person, bringing some food, and Yang Mama went many times, and she also went along many times, but they're not allowed to film inside, right? But calling out is their, the little right they have.
Yeah, Jing Hui just mentioned the sound mixer, Du Du Zhi, which is another really big name here. Du Du Zhi always, again, worked together with Hou Xiaoxian, Edward Yang, Wang Gawei, and many international directors when he has time, but usually he has not. So totally occupied by all our Taiwanese, no matter fiction films or documentaries. So again, he's the one who say some words there and talking about the sounds, the touching feelings. Yeah. So this is a quite powerful, quite impressive production team. But how could you get them on board?
I shared them some footage and the proposal about the film, then I visit them. Yeah.
I should ask more precise because it's like 10 years, shooting. So at what stage that they said, okay, we're on board?
Post-production.
Yeah, post-production.
Yeah.
These 2 years.
Also, yeah, I happen to know Mr. Liao also through common friends and met a few times. He also not only helping young filmmakers in Taiwan, but also in the mainland, independent filmmakers in particular. I mentioned Yang Lina the other day. He actually helped Yang Lina to edit her debut feature, Longing for the Rain. And Yang Lina also visited the Woman Makers International Film Make Waves Festival in 2015. I went with her with the program. And Liao Sang was there, and we all sat down to watch. So Liao Sang and I also know each other, and we also met in Xining and Pema Zaidan. This is a little bit of personal anecdotes. Pema Zaidan was very kind and invited him and me, my family, to visit the region and the temples. So I feel Liao Sang and I probably have certain mutual connection, trust in some ways. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, probably.
Should we open?
Yes,
open
yes.
to the floor for a few questions.
Or you have any feedback you want to share?
We
pass the precious for us.
Yes. Yeah, the film, we still tweak it. Okay.
Yes, I can speak now. Right?
Yes.
I really like the film and also enjoyed another one, Honey and Money, and because I found a lot of similars in the two films, and we talked about there are a lot of, like you mentioned you take 15 years to make the film Honey and Money and take 10 years to make this film, and we can find a time gap in both of the two films. So we talked about that, what changes in the 50 years about the government, the society, and people toward the domestic helpers in another film, Honey and Money. So I was wondering if you can share something changed and unchanged during the 10 years in this film. Yeah, this is my first question.
This is enough for now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I think on the unchanged things, it's the love in the film. You could see even the Mama Yang, she's getting old, but she keep on writing. Yeah, and she sang the last later. And Mama Zheng, she never gave up her hope for her son. So it's unchanged things, and they become old. No matter these ladies, Mama Zheng, Mama Yang, or these inmates. Yeah, so yeah, it's and Mama Yang passed away. But I think she is watching the film, enjoying the panel discussion with us. She's looking forward to watch the complete film. So she often encouraged me, and she has the patience to wait for me. But I feel so sorry I could not complete earlier. But I already do my best.
I might also add, it was very moving the other day when a student of mine forwarded an image of Yang Mama sitting in the seat, one of the seats here a few years ago when she came to attend the Money Honey screening, and also a trailer of this new film. So there was a video image, and she is among us in some ways.
And I add a little bit, during the 10 years of production, not anything of the social, policies or anything that changed to make you maybe switch a little bit of your direction or anything?
Can address that a little bit, to be a New Yorker, American person. Yeah.
Well, I wish I had had more awareness about prisons, and restrictions and reform prior to working on this, which sadly I did not, so I can't speak to that 10-year change. I can speak to my change in becoming aware of that. I mean, the whole idea of prisons in general is such a primitive solution to a problem. Like, it's so, I don't want to say barbaric, but it's just very, very, very primitive. Like, this is considered a problem. Let's put him or her there. Just put them away. As that has nothing to do with reform or rehabilitation in any way. It's terrible. So, yeah, that's what I mean. That was the kind of growth that I went through with that.
So yes, yeah, and also we witnessed in the film today too. Assembly member Ron Kim was here too. The movement to push for the legislation of the elder parole bill. It's not pending in state assembly, and we really, this is also an element that was developed, later stage of the shooting and so on. Trump era, anti-Asia, all these sentiments, and just galvanized more of our dedication, passion to bring these conversations into the film as well. So when these different kinds of demonstrations happened, Jasmine was in Taiwan, she emailed me, can you send someone to show, at the City Hall, Union Square, and indeed, because we also did a few of my students went there to shoot with their iPhone, and she instructed us, if you shoot with iPhone, make sure it's horizontal, because it'll be easier to be edited into the footage. So these were the changes, and as the film developed, we could not predict it. It just happened as the story unfolded, as the world changed. And I mean, the saddest change is the passing of young Mama herself. But it was wonderful to see her and Alan reconcile before she passed away, and I think it sends a really important message on all levels, not just in terms of the inmate issue, which is a very urgent social problem to be tackled, right? Yeah, I think I've been here longer than you, so I feel like this is what has been happening in terms of news and global movements.
It's really a beautiful, touching film. I would just really curious about your collaboration with Nelson during the post-production, and your film touched a lot of important social political issue, and it also stayed a very poetic personal film. And I was wondering how you balancing out all this social political energy in the personal storytelling. Yeah, thank you and congratulations.
Maybe the other question. Yes, we don't have so much time.
Okay.
That's good. That's good. We can bring the questions together.
Oh, I'm curious whether the inmates have seen the film, and if they did, how they reacted.
Maybe one more?
Yeah, please. Rob.
Lovely film, really address whether it's just for the, as what Jean says, political issues about, Chinese immigrants or in general Taiwanese immigrants, but also it's a very community-based film, as we can all see, that how it contributes to the community, and also just during the COVID, the difficult times. But I really wondered when you were making this documentary, how you negotiate with your spectatorship, or what is this film for? There's a lot of layers about this film, and just really curious then how, when you were doing your film, have you ever considered in a very human level how we choose to overcome those challenges together as different individuals with different backgrounds?
Actually, it's really very complex documentary. Yeah, Mr. Liao, he also mention that actually it's very complicated documentary. Yeah, how could you balance poetic approach and social balance? Then I hope the documentary is poetic because the inner emotion, is true life, but their telling is very poetic also. You need to have the imagination, because such as Ajong, he mentioned when he watched the window, he could feel the sun. So when you could see the wind triumph, it's also very poetic. You could hear the song. It's like the whisper of hope and love for me. So I would like it have the snow would be the key for the documentary. In the winter, it's snowing. It's so cold, but the whisper of hope is still there. So it's poetic. But also the social issue is also very important. So you could see assembly members rocking the things we discuss about the bill. So I would not say balance, but if you are a director, you need to know what's your decision for the film. Then you must discuss with your editor how to keep the main thing there, but you want to open the audience's eyes about from the social issues. So it's not balanced. I could not say it's balanced, but the main thing is most important. You know how much footage I have, but I need to give up.
How many footage? I'm curious.
I could not remember it, but I have two, hard disks, and it's very large. So you need to give up many wonderful clips. It's also related the main theme, but sometimes because of the limit of the time, so it's the final version here.
So the inmates they got. Sorry, that question.
I don't. In Taiwan, we will have a tour screening in prisons. It would be very easy for me to deal with it, and we will deal with it. And I believe each inmate in Taiwan they will watch the film, but I think it's very difficult in New York because they are in the maximum security. So maybe you could share about the distribution plans.
Can we have the screen light up again, please?
You need the microphone?
Oh, I thought it's still here. Oh, now we have it. Okay. All right. So coming to the important part, speaking of exhibitions, so now we have the film, and we have shown it once at the San Diego Asian Film Festival early this month. It was premiered to 300 audience size member. Was a rousing reception. And today is as we call it, a preview special screening on campus. It's not official festival. So we are looking for international film festival entries, selections for competition or otherwise, and distribution in the USA, because the film is really very much American story, an Asian American story with global resonances, right? Most of the protagonists are based here. And Zheng Mama actually still, living next to this university, a few blocks away. Jasmine and I went to visit her. She's in poor health. We're looking for distribution on streaming platforms and possibly theatrical if possible. I think you should be able to, go into a place like IFC perhaps. And definitely touring community and campus screenings of this kind today for educational, public outreach purposes, and college students, high school students, and Chinese communities, Asian communities, and Black communities. They all will have a certain sense of identification and relation to it. And the second part is in Taiwan. It's also very much a Taiwan story, with a young mama, this diasporic elderly woman reinventing herself in New York in diaspora, but her roots are in Taiwan. And, her family, the younger generations, they still go back and forth. So we hope it will be released in Taiwan. And definitely in Taiwan, Jasmine has connections and support to arrange correction facilities screenings. It is in the planning. Last but not least, again, to mirror what we want to do here, touring exhibitions across the cities and communities and university campuses in Taiwan. And perhaps the Woman Maker Waves can also help in this regard, right? Just a word about that here. But in order to make that happen, more resources are needed. Jasmine has spent all her personal savings and quit her job to make this film. And the Harvest Church has been helping, supporting, accommodating her visits, shooting, and so on. But it's very limited. We need to work together to raise more funds from personal, private, public sectors. So help if you can, or are there others who are willing or able to help? So this is the publicity part of the cake today. Okay, I'm back to my seat.
We still have time for questions?
5 minutes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Okay.
there is please scan QR code. It's the Facebook Come Home My Child, so you could follow up our film
Exhibitions and festival events and so on. Yes.
And please share your feedback to your friends or any social media. And then.
But let's take
We need to create the
one or
buzz,
two
so
more
to speak.
questions to end. Yeah. Maybe 2 questions and then we.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing such a beautiful and strong story. And my question is about the relationship between Mama Yang and her granddaughter, because it's kind of remind me and my grandmother. So I want to know, I think in the end of the story, her granddaughter start to build the understanding, the more the connections with her grandmother. I think the part of the reason is because director, you showed her the film, she know more about her grandmother's background, but I want to know more background story, because I've also found she started to writing to her. And the second is, I want to know what's the relationship between you and her granddaughter. Is there any changing during the process of making film? Thank you so much.
And the final question, and then we answer together, okay?
And then we have a chance to talk to the director in the lounge area afterwards.
Yes. Okay, so.
Oh, thank you. I actually don't have a question. I just want to say my appreciation for this film. So I'm just a young filmmaker who's currently studying in NYU, and I started crying on the first shot, literally. When Mama Yang showed up, and with the scoring coming up, I was I cannot hold out my tears. So even though I don't share the same background as our protagonist in this story, this story really touched me. I cried throughout the whole way. So I just really think that this is a very touching story who will touch a really large audience, and also for a lot of young people nowadays who care about Asian representation in the US. So I was actually going to ask about like what's the next plan for this film, but Professor already answered that. So I guess I would just want to really express my appreciation for this film. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's
next one.
okay, that's really the final one.
李导演你好，我是带着影片中的夏建国弟兄的问候和思念来的，因为刚刚在电影上映的时候，我跟他说我已经来到了现场，他非常的激动，他说若非杨妈妈的谆谆教导和鼓励，他也不会热心的追求领命的长进。然后在回国之后呢，他有机会回国，他获得假释了，他回国了，然后也从事了教会的服事工作。他说很感恩杨妈妈。然后呢，他录了一段那个语音给我，让我放给大家听一下，可以吗？
好啊，好啊。
Okay, so we should explain in English a little bit.
Oh.
Do we need that? Yeah, because one of this.
Please translate.
Okay, all right, you will do that. Okay.
No, you please.
I am doing it.
You can do it yourself.
翻译一下。
他可以自己翻译，他可以自己翻译，就让他自己翻译。
Translate by yourself.
She comes here because she has a message from Xia Jianguo, one of the inmates from the film. And she just told him that she was here for the screening. He was very, very excited about the screening, and he had a special message she want to show us and want us to listen.
Xia Jianguo is the one who got parole, went back to China.
爱子归来这部电影啊，在影映的活动当中，我的祷告就是希望神借着这部电影，能够把主的爱，就是传播给更多的人啊，让更多的人发现在这个世上还有这样的一份爱。希望那些特别是还没有认识主的人，能够会被这部电影所感动回归到基督里面。
Can spread God's love to more people, especially people who haven't really encountered God, will be really touched and moved by this film and really understand Christianity and appreciate God and also appreciate Mama Yang.
Okay, thank you so much for relaying the message. Yes. And this in part also addresses the question earlier by a student here about the spectatorship, the cross communal appeal. This film is very much about a Christian community here, but it's also an interfaith collaborative project. I'm Buddhist, and I'm fully, invested in this project because I feel it goes way beyond a particular religious devotion, so it could really, it could be received as a gospel, but it also could be received other kinds of messages, Asian representations by young people and intersectional feminism and politics and so on and so forth. So I just want to add a footnote here, but it was very touching to receive that message.
Is surprise gift from Mr. Xia Jianguo. Yeah, it's wonderful. Now he is in China. Yeah, so thanks so much.
How long are you going to stay here in New York or in the United States?
This trip?
Yeah.
It's personal question. So about Alan's background is also personal family affairs. Yeah, I think it's another documentary, isn't it?
That's true. Okay.
But I would like to appreciate Farina from 2013. She support me wherever I visit. She donate for my trip. It's really, she really has good heart. Yeah,
No,
thank you so
I
much.
have a few words to say because I know her for a long time.
I know her for a long time, of course, through the it's a church events,
and so we know each other for years. And so I know it's not easy to do the documentary film. It's not really commercial. You're not going to hit a jackpot. Not like I was somebody I wanted to introduce you to. It's June Kwan. It's Daniel Kwan's mother. Daniel Kwan's Everything Everywhere at the same time. Won the 3 Oscars for the Asian young. Well, to me, he's still a young kid, but he's like a 30-something. And I saw them grow up. It's really a shine to the Asian people to be in the film industry, especially for the woman. She can even have this film, Money and Honey, and this one is more touching with so many layers. It's not just like one direction, right? With the lady piano, mother, even the granddaughter. So this is touching movie. That's what I can say. And hopefully it's welcome in the whole internationally, because this is a question for the problem for the society, not just American society. It's everywhere. So I just encourage you, if you have some extra spare money, can help Jasmine, because I know how hard she needs to make a film in the United States, especially New York. It's not easy. You know, it's not easy to survive in New York. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I was so proud of you, Jasmine.
You should have cheered our publicity campaign.
Okay, so we wrap up.
Yeah, and we continue our more casual discussions.
参展的这个电影，所以呢，望咱的乡亲若会使，那有人要去吼，你讲，哎呦，而家停车足歹停，对不对？有时停车足歹停，拜咱嘛足歹停，所以若讲大家有需要，咱嘛会当大家小少来遮，讲咱做伙驶车，咱来咱的中心集合，早来早1点，恁会当。可以做戳理哦，太好了，还可以做戳理。到 Central Campus 的啥？因为 Price Center。行一个也不够，安尼当做戳理啦，更较好。感谢。UTC 的当做好Central Campus， 所以足好的吼，感谢 Teresa， 感谢Susan 甲咱讲吼，因为因吼拢有去带大家去坐处理去佚佗吼，所以拢较知影。所以你若准讲会当去坐处理，伫恁兜的附近就请去处理的 station， 你就会当坐去大遐。伊是啥物线？你敢知？就是 UC 的线 ，blue line 吼，蓝色的线吼，所以。到 UTC 好，大家知影吼，记好条。若有问题呢，会当会后来请问迄个 Teresa 甲 Susan， 恁两个伫遐来举手一个，互我看者。感谢吼，你若要坐处理有问题，你甲因请教一下。对，你若去处理停车公园拢免钱嘛，拢爱啊。UTC 爱钱，所以爱注意哦，天天免钱啦吼。像阮兜吼较远啦，所以我若要坐处理吼，我就爱停去阮咧处理 station， 遐个转过迄边安尼吼。所以大家若会使，咱社会来甲因捧场，因为咱迄日有4场，其实12点就开始啊。每一场，因为咱差不多拢65岁以上嘛吼，咱会当较俗啦吼。本来一场改成15块，变做13块尔，因为阮迄日有买着票吼，变13块尔，所以去甲因捧场，我感觉足重要。今仔日咱的导演来伫遮。伊咧甲咱介绍讲，伊是安怎开始拍片吼其实是足感动的吼因为有足我有放伫即个 Good TV 吼的顶头，大家若有兴趣，我会当放伫咱东乡会的即个 Night Group 内底吼所以毋茫大家阮会当去看吼，即个 Good TV 内底阮有甲伊介绍过哦伊进前就足出名的导演啦今仔足欢喜吼，咱中心迄个感谢阿美。伊吼一听就讲，中心要来做伙办，感谢，足感谢大家同乡，大家听着我来甲讲，你办的活动足好，我足欢喜，你愈甲我学了，我就愈办较济吼，所以吼足感谢大家，拢甲我学了吼，所以即届吼， 导演昨早起来对不对？啊，无看人，我讲奇怪，啊，哪样点点？伊一去房间就困去啊，困到昨黑暗吼，啊，所以阮咧找咧吼找无，所以即摆除了咱同乡会来主办以外，甲中心做伙主办以外，咱的商会的会长，啊，甲因的理事淑美吼，我是叫淑美啦吼，对。Amy 啦，Amy 啊，小华，Amy 的去迄个
好，我们就分享到这边。如果还有更多的讯息啊，再为大家录播，谢谢。